Hi and welcome to another podcast with your host Miriam Khan. Today I am really blessed to have yet another remarkable lady with me called Juanita. Juanita, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, Miriam. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, thank you very much. I'm Juanita Coetzee, born and bred from Cape Town, South Africa. We always have to say, as Capetonians, that we Cape Town Cape Town, since many people think that South Africa is South Africa, but we as Capetonians feel we're very privileged to be living in one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I hope you've been there.
No, not yet. I have quite a lot of staff at work that are actually from Cape Town, and yet to go. But I will. I'll make it on my list of things to do.
Bucket list, Miriam, bucket list. Yeah. Born and bred there. I currently live in the UAE with my 4 amazing daughters, and yes, doing great things for emerging markets and for women in general.
Brilliant. I I'm involved in the book with yourself called She is Remarkable, and your particular chapter in there is called To Bravery. Now, before we discuss that particular book and how you came about that, let's get a little bit of background about what you do. Obviously you're a very, very busy lady. You've got many, fingers in many pies like myself. So what is your background? What is it, your day-to-day job, as we say, that you do?
Problem. Thank you for that. Very diverse background. I spent 10 years in finance, 15 years in healthcare, and decided to merge the two for good. So at the moment now, I basically am part of a US private equity company, and I lead the development of healthcare infrastructure in Africa. And we focus mostly in areas and geographies where there's latent demand. And so we decided to go to a country called Ethiopia, which is the second most populous country in Africa. And we are establishing the largest private hospital campus in Ethiopia, and will be the largest development on the continent at the moment. So really it's bringing access to healthcare where there previously was none. So that is quite humbling. Of course, ultimately our responsibility is towards the shareholder, but also the stakeholders benefit immensely from our activities and from our efforts. So it's all about, I think, raising the flag for emerging markets, or growth markets as I prefer to call them. Bringing access to where there previously was none. And if I can do that with investors' money, then
yay! This is really important. I mean, it's nice to know. One of the things that I've loved about this book journey, especially since doing the podcast, is all the beautiful people it's brought together. The book obviously was a collaboration through many speakers who I will be putting in the biography, but I think it's such a nice opportunity where they've put all of us together. So obviously, you yourself have brought quite a lot to this particular book as well. Had you written before? Had you been an author or published author before?
No, I have not. This was my first time dabbling in it. So I'm an avid reader.
Yeah.
But not all readers are writers, right? And I thought that chasm would be too great for me to breach until I was introduced to this opportunity.
Yeah, and what a remarkable opportunity it is, because, as you know yourself, you begin networking, you begin meeting people. And we were having a brief chat prior to the podcast starting about the book launch, because all of us authors basically went to a huge book launch, which is a beautiful place in Dubai. And we were in this exclusive jewelry exhibition place, and it was just so nice to mingle and meet with everybody. And we were talking, weren't we, about did we meet each other that night or did we not? And obviously it was so packed and so filled. We may have just passed each other as we were being perhaps interviewed for other things, But luckily we've met this way. Now, your chapter is called, Call to Bravery on page 45. And without giving too many spoilers away, because I'm sure we want people to read your particular chapter and read the book itself, I was really touched at your recollection of different people that have had an imprint on your life. Without giving too much away, do you want to summarize what your chapter is about?
Yeah, sure. Very difficult to summarize, so I'm going to try at least. So, as I mentioned earlier in my introduction, I'm from South Africa. And the history of South Africa, I think it's very well known to the globe. And so, of course, with those infringements of freedoms based on race and segregation, the chapter is really about the journey of 3 generations of women in my family that has been involved in that or has lived through the injustice of that was imposed on us at the time and breaking that cycle. And so it's 4 generations really in the book, 3 of them living through it and hopefully changing the dynamic and breaking that cycle for the 4th generations of women that of South African brown women.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that is really what it comes down to, and resilience in the face of adversity. And it I think it's a story not only that you can relate to race, but just every form of discrimination and how resilience really is your friend. And I think it's so necessary, especially in this world we live in today, where we still see so many injustices on different, groups.
Yes.
Of humanity, that the only thing I feel that saved me and my 4 mothers is resilience, and I think that is what it is, and it's brave to be resilient, and it's a hard choice. It's easy to choose to be the victim, right? I could have played that card for a very long time, but it's a choice. At some point, it does become a choice.
It does,
and it's hard, but it's a choice to make.
Sometimes we don't realize it as well. We don't realize that the foremothers or the grandmothers or the great-grandmothers, they've all shown us different paths, different skills. Even though it's not the life we wanted to have like theirs, they've imprinted this lioness in us, and we didn't know it was there, So when you're talking about this resilience, it's not just I call it mama bear, as well. But even though I personally don't have children, I have that mama bear instinct. I'm a teacher. In my classroom, if I feel someone is not being cared for, looked after, I have got that mothering, caring, so I can't help it. I can't switch it off. But I know not everybody's like that, There's that resilience that you're talking about, is that perseverance, is that insistence to strive forward. And you've certainly done that. Done that. You're raising your children and you're showing them compassion and you're showing them leadership skills, And these are things, you're right, that in that community, people don't see that about us,
Absolutely.
And I can relate to that.
We've got such a responsibility as mothers of daughters, but like I tell so many of my friends that are mothers of sons, you have a greater responsibility as mother of sons, right? So it just feels that way. I certainly don't have that experience, but I think that raising daughters is one thing, but mothers of sons almost feels to me like a great responsibility.
Yes.
Because, I think we really have to change. It's only up to us, I think, this generation, to change the dynamic of how all injustices gets addressed in the future. I don't know if it will ever be wiped off the face of this earth, but we can, if we can't change the world, at least we can start to change our worlds, and the worlds of those who are around us. So again, it's choices. How are we addressing those, And it's such an important responsibility we all have as humans, not just mothers, not just women, not just men, all of us together collectively have a responsibility,
Yes. And it takes a lot of people to make those changes, and sometimes you're removing the bricks and the mortar that people have built, the foundations, and sometimes you're changing it big time, Personally, for me, for example, I'm the first female to go to college, school, university. My aunt had done so, which was my mum's sister. However, in my own personal family, and I had a lot of battles to be able to just go to school in the first place. This is in England. This is not somewhere else. And as silly as it might sound, I'm first generation born in England of an ethnic minority father and mother. And their mindset for that generation was, yes, education's important. However, you'll do it my way. Because the family history was, you'll get a basic education and then that's it. You get married. That's your life.
Crazy, Miriam.
And I understand the fights you have, the resilience you have to have, because it is not easy when you want that education, you want that key, you want that freedom, and it's blocked. when I was trying to go to school, at high school, when I was allowed to go, it was a case of you are doing these particular courses. Everything was by a man.
Exactly.
Do you get
And
what I'm saying?
I think what is I think we've got that double prejudice or that double barrier to break through. We are women, and then we are of color.
Yes.
And that is such a, I think that when we start talking about this, and when I start talking about this to many of my of peers and acquaintances, you're starting to, I don't know if you've experienced that in your social circle and in your greater professional circle, but I'm starting to hear, oh, not another Me Too. And I think people are becoming desensitized to this all of a sudden, because there's been so much, kind of voice given to it, that people think that, they don't want to be hearing any more of these.
I don't think it's just that. I think the people you're talking to are not alert and aware, and they also don't have a conscience. Because they don't want to be part of, they keep calling it, it's the woke movement. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
It's actually me expressing my opinion, my feelings, my validation. I'm not doing it from an ego point of view. I'm doing it from I am experiencing this. This is what's happened to me. This is my life. This is my voice. And they want to silence it. They try and make you into a Karen or a Ken. And again, that's not a nice term, but it's true. They turn into that. And what you're only doing is voicing what is happening to you as an ethnic minority, as a female, as a mother, all the other different roles and hats that you have on. The people you're around obviously are not your type of people.
And I think it's what I'm finding is that, there's obviously a lot of people that one engages with and so on. And I think people are becoming more aware of to be PC.
Yeah.
So there are so many rules and regulations now about sexual orientation, gender. So people are very conscious about what they say and in what context they're saying it. So it's as if once one starts sharing your opinion, the people that you would think would be supportive or would engage in those conversations. It's almost as if society has now made us super conscious about the things that we're saying, that we cannot say something because you're scared you're going to offend others, right? Yeah. So all of a sudden, our movement, I'll put that lightly, movement, meaning creating awareness about breaking down barriers, about equality, about discrimination, and so on, has become, it feels to me certainly, that it's become of a taboo to be talking about because it's too sensitive. And we are just getting out the gates, and we cannot let the super sensitivity that's happened around after COVID, everybody's become really conscious and PC about what they're saying. We cannot let that stop what we need to be doing more as women, right?
Yeah.
Women, men, girls, boys, whomever, we all have a duty and a responsibility to be moving the cause forward for equality, not for women's rights particularly or essentially, but for equality, right? Yeah. We also cannot create echo chambers around the people that is around us. So it was always good to receive and to broaden your circle, to get receive people's opinions and how they think about their world and about their world, so that you don't sit in this echo chamber of only, this is, everybody agrees to what I'm saying and this is my way. So I'm always open and receptive to others' opinions, but never really letting go of what my purpose is, which is really to spread the word about equality, right? And to break down those barriers, just like I'm breaking and attempting to break down those barriers in my professional life. Personally, I need to do the same, right? It doesn't stop my professional to my personal. It's kind of a continuum. Yes. So I think it's important that we don't segregate it, we don't box it up, and that all of a sudden, all the light that COVID has shed during the time of COVID has shed on the huge injustices in the world, we don't get caught up in the fact that we now need to be so PC, And I think it's important to highlight that as well. There's a freedom of opinion, and we need to be able to share those ideas as well, right?
Yes, I mean there are. You're right. Through COVID, through other, there's been lots of movements, as you saw, across the world, showing people their different aspects and standing up for themselves. But also, it's not just a matter of people being PC, but also people being afraid, but also people when they do go into their own expression, they go into a rant, and a lot of it is unbiased. They're also led by propaganda, big time. And I've experienced that as well. There's the other sides of it too. It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's an interesting one. But each time we're hoping that we make our world better. You yourself will probably understand this. I hoped that in the world I would grow up in England, I wouldn't see racism as I got older. When I'm seeing, we had petrol poured through our letterbox, someone trying to set us on fire. We had all sorts of things that were made it clear we were not part of that community. And I've grown up with that. And that's in the UK, being called the word Paki. And even on my latest trip in America in the summer, last summer, I went for 2 months because we get a longer break in the Middle East for the school period. And I did have a close friend out there, and I had to, even the first day when I met her, I had to correct her and said, do not use that word to refer to me. But we say that all the time. I said, no, it's like saying the N-word to me. Exactly. And when I was out in the States, I'm no longer friends with that person anymore, by the way. Things happened whilst I was there in the summer. We're no longer friends anymore, and that's all right. However, the people that I met around her, she kept saying, oh, we say this term, don't we? And I'm like, no, it is not acceptable. Just because you think it's okay, let me tell you, you are a person of colour too. And, you should be more respectful because there'll be people labelling you and calling and toiling names to you. You need to understand it's not the word itself, it's the connotation and the implication, and it's your ideology behind that. And I had to break it down. And there was a gentleman with her, if I can call him a gentleman, and he was 6'5", I'm 5'10", and he squared up to me and said, I can say what I want. I said, no, you can't. And we ended up having a verbal ding dong. And he afterwards, I must have, in terminology, in words, I cut him. And I'm not someone who normally gets into a big argument, but I have got Afghan roots. Don't mess with someone with an Afghan roots. And he realised when I squared up to him that I wasn't going to back down. And he used his body language. He used his masculinity to make me feel afraid. I'm like, excuse me, I've just gone through this in my life. No more. And when I had done that, he just backed off in a corner, didn't speak to me again. And I was like, good. You've now been put in place by a female. You do not speak to someone like that. It is not acceptable. It is not. If you've not got anything that's not racist to say, you may open your mouth. If not, stay quiet and in the corner.
I think people need to be called out more. So well done for you for doing that. And I think that is amazing. It's one battle, after one another conversation at a time.
Yeah. And ironically, several weeks, I think a week or so after that, he turned around to my friend and said, please, can I talk to her? Because have I got permission? There's things I want to discuss and I think she can really help me and counsel me. And I was like, what? Like, are you for real? No. I was like, no. Thank you, but no thank you. Because you need years of psychology to reprogram who you are and your mindset. And I'm on vacation mode, so it's not going to happen. And you can't pay me enough.
Exactly.
He needed the help, don't get me wrong, but there are times when you just think, nah, not worth the headache,
Yeah, exactly. So I agree with you, and well done to that, because it's not everyone that would really be brave enough.
Oh yeah.
to voice and to stand up, right? So we've been conditioned to
stay silent.
Shut your mouth. We've been kind of given the social construct, which has become our mental constructs, and we need to start to break out of them. Identify what is the programming that has been given to us, and start to identify what you want to take personally and what you need to leave behind. It's tough because how do you identify what you've been programmed to believe, right? And how you acting in your environment, but it's an ongoing process. And I think it's difficult. I only started waking up to this, and I suppose that's what they call it, woke, in my mid-30s. That's really when I was, how would I say, when my kids were, when I was finished doing Darwin proud by breeding well. Only after I was really able to finish having my last kids, did I really start to think about, oh my goodness, I have these 4 daughters. What is this world that I'm bringing them into, and how is this world for women of color?
Yeah.
And then it really started dawning on me about the decisions I need to make, the questions I need to ask myself, the programming that I've been, that I've been using to operate within this framework. What of that I'm going to use, and what of that I'm going to leave behind. Yeah. But it's tough. But it's a daily decision, right? You've got to show up every day.
Yeah, and one of the things that I admire about you, that as you were saying, your work is taking you to many, many different places, and it's beautiful to see a young female of ethnic minority doing that as well. People don't realize that you're still going back to your roots and still helping people. You were talking to me briefly about your charity work. Let's discuss that now, because maybe there is someone listening in right now to this podcast that can support you and financially help you. So give us a bit of background to this charity and what you're doing.
Charity? No.
Well, not charity. I beg your pardon. Startup. Beg your pardon.
It's a startup. So I've started a health tech startup, and it's really, again, in my mother's honor. A lot of my chapters written is because of my mum, and my whole life is because of my mother. My whole life is a permanent dedication to her. She's my whole heart, and she's the truest love of my life.
May she rest in power and peace.
I would go on record 1,000 times saying that. So I, after her passing, about 9 months ago to the day today, I started toying with this idea of putting together a startup. And she's always been encouraging me to do so much more, because she always believed that I could do so much more. And I've set up a startup in Abu Dhabi, in ADGM, called Jewel, JOOL. And what Jewel is designed to do is it is establishing a health tech platform which connects carers to resources. So my mother was very blessed to be able to have me, which is a healthcare background, and I have many healthcare positions and clinicians and experts standing behind me to help me provide best care to my mother. And so she always often told me, what would she have done had she not had me? And what about so many other people that don't have access, right? So this platform will be or is being designed to create access to carers. 80% of carers around the world are girls and women. My mother was one of them. She was a 13-year-old carer to her ailing mother, right? Denied education because she had to take over the reins. So what this platform is enabling is empowering girls and women with information to care for their patients or their family members. Most of these carers, like I said, girl women, are caring for their family members. But in the same token, allowing them to access education through the app, and through an online university or academic institution, but also, so they would be buddied with a retired nurse. So it's focused really on not only health tech, but silver tech, as well as femtech, right? Because again, the majority of the people that will be developing the platform, coders, developers, will be close to retired women. Because really, I think we want to turn the idea of health tech startup on its head, where it's generally thought about the 20-something, the Stanford dropouts, the MIT dropouts that do startups. So no, we are mature women, close to retirement, that actually is going to be developing code to put this platform together. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, we are all about inclusion and diversity. So we're not going to have a women's only club of an echo chamber. We will include all walks of life. But generally, it will be designed by women, mostly for women, dealing in this environment. And of course, again, bringing access to much needed information to care appropriately for patients around the world. The beauty of it, of course, is that it's completely agnostic to language. So if you are sitting in Pakistan, for example, and you are in District 6 in Karachi, caring for your mum, there could be a retired nurse in District 12 in Karachi that you will be connected to, that understands your dynamic, that understands your language, that understands your culture. But if you want 24-hour assistance, of course, a nurse sitting in New Zealand can also support you during that hours where your online dedicated buddy is asleep, basically. So this dynamic platform is being launched very soon this year, and we're very excited about it. And it's really received quite a lot of reviews from people that I've been speaking to, and excitement and a buzz around it. So again, it's about access, right?
Yeah.
And healthcare is my passion.
Yeah.
Being of service to people is my passion. And yeah, I finally have this opportunity to live this passion, which I'm very excited about.
How can people get in touch with you if they think they have the skills, or maybe they want to financially support you? I don't know. Like I said, we could be listening to anybody. They could be listening to our conversation. What would be the best way to get in touch with you? So we'll put these details obviously in the biography as well.
Of course. So at this stage, my best mode of community of my platform of choice is LinkedIn.
Okay.
I have not segued to the IG and all the other fantastic.
Yet.
I will still do that. I will still do that as I build out my social media campaigns and so on. But my platform of choice is, of course, LinkedIn, and that is just my name my name and my last name. You can find me easy. That's Juanita Coetzee. And as I mentioned earlier, we are about to embark on a pre-seed round of funding, which happens in March, which we're very excited about. So I'm happy to talk to any women, men that feels that they want to be part of this journey, either in any capacity. I think we are excited to get started. So yeah, we are all in the business of breaking down barriers.
I think what you're doing is really, really crucial, and I will explain that in a second. So what you're doing to me is ringing family bells. My grandfather, who came to the UK in the early 1950s, he had gone with my grandfather. This is another book that I'm actually writing about. But what he did was a lot of charity work. He also worked with people in and out of prison. I think I take after my grandfather in more ways than I realise. Way more than I realised how much of a role model he was to me. And even now in his 80s, bless him, he's 84, mashallah, God bless his soul, he's still doing similar work to what you're trying to do. He lost 2 daughters in Pakistan. And what happened was one of them, I think, had kidney dialysis issues and the other had liver failure. And because of where they're situated in the village, even though we are in England, we are having affluent backgrounds and we can send money to them and so on. As you know yourself, when you're working in another country, trying to send Western unions is not always easy.
Yeah,
some countries are not 24 hours. Sometimes you have to go to the city. Well, that costs money. It costs transport. There isn't transport there. You might have to walk 30, 40 miles to get to the nearest bus and so on. There's all these different types, it's not a city, it's a village. And there aren't hospitals. And sadly, he lost 2 daughters. And what I love about him, he'd already been doing charity work anyway for, it's called Muslim Global Relief. You may have heard of it. He was already setting up charities to do with hospitals and setting up education. And what he did after their death, sadly, was he did more for women. So he, through the Muslim, a lot of money is given to the mosques then go and take it. My grandfather was one of those people where he had to show the check, he had to show the photos, he had to show, because people say, oh, you've used it. There's a lot of people doing corruption, a lot.
Yeah.
Some of his recent things that I saw was he had gone to some villages and bought sewing machines for women. Now, it was beautiful because a lot of them could sew, but they weren't shown the skills. My grandmother and my mother, they were tailors at home, tailoresses. They would work second jobs to help our families. This is what I'm saying to you. I totally get where you're coming from because you speak to someone from that environment. And he went back to Pakistan with this money, empowered the females to learn how to sew. Then they made their own clothes, sold those clothes, made it like a fair trade business. And I was so happy because, a lot of that cultural background is that women can't work. They have to be married. When they're divorced or widowed or wherever in that culture, our culture, they cannot work. You have to get married to someone else. Well, when you're divorced or widowed at age 40, 50, 60, there is no government support, no money, nothing. Right? So this was such a beautiful thing. And then eventually he set up like a little building and so on in different places. In some things he did, he got dialysis machines. He's been doing all sorts of things that in the background has helped so many people.
You know
And
what,
that's just
Mariam?
a snippet.
He is remarkable.
Yes, he is. He is.
That is
And I don't have
absolutely-
full interaction with him, unfortunately, because my family ties are somewhat distant. But I'm aware of what he's been doing. I've been researching him, watching him. And he is someone I love to this day. But he's empowered me, and he's been remarkable to me. You're correct. And I've followed on his footsteps in a different way. You know? Excuse me. And it's interesting to see those things. So what you're doing is beautiful, because you're right, it impacts many, many people. And there are people like this in our world doing things, but people don't know about it.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for the platform as well to share that.
You're very welcome.
It's people, I think it's through this network that we connect with other women to uplift women. And so we need to continue these type of networks and these type of silos so that we can grow this network further and wider, because it's only through the continued conversation and support of each other that we can actually, make a difference, that we can actually change the world that we live in. So thank you for the opportunity on this platform and to chat to you. And I really, once we're done with this conversation with the podcast, I definitely want to know more about the Muslim Global Relief and more of what your granddad is doing. That's fascinating.
Yeah, there's lots of people. I have close friends that are doing diabetes campaigns across the world. That's something I'm learning so much more about too. There's so many causes out there we need to really help and support. And what I'm admiring is this beautiful journey you're starting, and I am going to stay in touch with you because I want to see where it goes. If I can help you in any way, I would love to do that too.
I'll be calling
I will be involved.
Sure.
But thank you so much. I will put your details into obviously the bio, and any links you provide, people can then contact you that way. Obviously, if they come to you through LinkedIn, just mention Raise Your Vibes, and then you know where that person's come from as well. Is there any last thoughts you want to say, or any last points you want to say on our podcast before we finish?
I think firstly, I just want to thank you for the opportunity and the platform. I think it's putting a mouthpiece to our individual courses is wonderful, and having people like you is just phenomenal. So thank you for that. I think the last part that I want to maybe just share is, it's tough. I think we all go through these incredibly difficult times, highs and lows and so on. But we are born to be resilient.
Yes.
I read a beautiful book called Born to Run. I'm an avid runner, so I love running. Beautiful. And when I couldn't run, I read a book and it told me that you were born to run. And so I believed it, right? So what your mind conceive, your body can achieve. I believe that. And so I just think that what I want to share is that whoever is going through difficult times or doubting themselves or want to embark on something new, there is nothing that we cannot do. Can't, cannot, however you want to pronounce it, does not exist in my vocabulary. And I made sure it doesn't exist in my children's as well. And it really starts with our own self-talk, right? And the only way I'm able to really, truly start to live the truest version of me is by positive self-talk. And it is a conscious decision daily. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. All that programming still exists there. I'm a girl. I'm a brown girl. All of those programming is there. But every day I have to start with that positive self-talk of just saying, waking up every morning. I know it sounds corny, going into the bathroom, and the first thing I do is saying, hey, buddy, how you doing today?
Yeah, I've seen that.
And start with that first positive affirmation. And even though your day is rough and whatever, it starts with positive. And it's about me, myself, and I. It's me first and everyone else after. Because if I'm not showing up for myself, I'm not going to show up for everyone else. It's a daily decision. It's a choice, but it's also a decision.
And sometimes sometimes we give more to others than we do ourselves. We do that as women and mothers and everything.
Exactly.
And we have to change that.
We need to start to change that. It's about ourselves first. show up for ourselves, we can show up for others. If we don't show up for ourselves, we cannot show up for others. So yeah, it's a daily decision, a daily choice.
And that's a beautiful reminder. Thank you for that. Because
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's been lovely having you. That's the end of our podcast now. And I'm sure we'll be in touch with you again, another point, maybe do another follow-up and see how you're going. Thank
Would
you.
love that.
You're welcome. Thank you. This has been Raise Your Vibes with your host, Moon Khan, and my guest, Juanita.